What do you see? What do you see when you look at the circumstances of your life? Why so many of us stumble and why so many of us fall is because we are looking at our natural circumstances. You're looking at your financial conditions. They're going to be hindrances to you if you're going to put your eyes on those circumstances. If you're looking at your physical body with cancer or tuberculosis or paralyzed arm or leg or high blood pressure or stomach disorder or heart trouble, if you're going to look at your physical condition, if you're going to look at the natural, it's going to be a hindrance to you. The servant Gehazi, when he saw the circumstances of the enemy surrounding the house of his master, his heart was struck with fear. My God, he says, what shall we do? Now there's a difference, brother, in shouting, my God, what shall we do? And shouting, thank God for what you have done. Big difference. And Elisha said to his servant, don't be afraid. Now, when you see and when you get the spiritual breakthrough to see past the natural, you say, Brother Cerullo, that sounds good, but what does it mean to see past the natural? Very simple. It means to see into the realm of the provision, the spiritual provision that God has made for you, not the circumstance. But when you have spiritual sight, you don't see the sickness, you see past that into the provision of the healing power. That's why it's so important that we understand the basis. Because remember, we said yesterday that the basis is not a doctrine. It's not a theology. It's not the teaching of some theological seminary. But our basis is not the theology of man. Our basis is not the concepts of man, what they think about God, or what has been passed down to us by any church, be it the Catholic Church, or be it the Methodist Church, or be it the Presbyterians, or be it the Baptists. You can't help what people think. Don't get your mind filled and cluttered with the ideas and the concepts of man. You say, Brother Cerullo, I've got to know what to believe. If I don't hear somebody and I don't follow them, I don't know what to believe. I'll tell you, brother, what to believe. Simple. Simple. Read it. Read it. Read it. Read it. And then don't try to interpolate it. Just because God's not stupid. He's not ignorant. He's not a manipulator. He says what he means what he says, and he doesn't need a theologian to twist it and turn it around and shove it in a dispensation. He's God. He's God. And when he says something, he means it. That's it. Settled. Case closed. Finished. He said, don't be afraid. It's the absence of fear from within our beings that gives us the spiritual ability to move forward in faith regardless of our circumstances. I want to tell you something today. I really don't care what you're facing. If you are one with the God of signs and wonders and miracles, I don't care what you are facing, brother. You're not looking at those circumstances. You're not trying to assess your position. You're not trying to evaluate where you are, brother. You're looking past that because you're walking in faith and victory. You say, but Brother Cerullo, I'm going bankrupt. So what? So what? You are one with the God who said, let there be light, and there was light. Get your eyes out of the natural. He said, you don't have to be afraid. And I'm telling you today, just like Elisha told his servant, you don't have to be afraid. 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 Why? Because, listen to me, Gehazi. Listen to me. Listen to me. You can't see it because you haven't had the spiritual breakthrough. But I'm going to pray for you. See, when I get through praying for you, he said you're going to see past the natural. You're going to take the first step. You're going to understand what I know about miracle power living and signs and wonders and the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. You're going to understand it, Gehazi. Those that are with us, read it, are greater than those that are against us. Somebody raise your right hand. And somebody say, I am one, with the God, of signs and wonders and miracles. It's sad, but most of the Christians only see as far as their problems. And then our problems come and crush us. It's easy when we become caught in that cycle of defeat. It's easy. Go ahead. I have counseled with the best of them. It's easy when you're caught in that cycle of defeat to forget that our God is a supernatural God. It's true, whoever wrote that song, he holds the world in his hands. We need God to open our eyes. Elisha prayed. Verse 17 of this 6th chapter. Oh Lord, open his eyes so he may see. Something happened. He saw beyond the natural, and all of a sudden the hills behind the Syrian army, surrounding their army, were horses and chariots of fire. They were protecting Elisha all the time. God was working and manifesting himself in behalf of the needs of his servant. And if you can get your eyes anointed, you're apt to see things about your condition that would startle you. You're apt to find out that God is more interested in your circumstances than you ever dreamed possible. We're in the end time harvest. Now I pray, don't let these words fall on deaf, stony ears. God is going to open the eyes of his people. I prophesy. So they will be able to see into the spirit realm. And they're going to see God. They're going to see God as the God of signs be able to see concerning their own experiences what God is doing in their behalf as they are walking in the midst of what seems to be the fiery trials of the enemy. Thus saith the Lord. And it's only when that manifestation comes that the sting of fear is extracted. God has always dealt with his people. It has never been any different, except when you find periods of dark ages and when you find periods of spiritual apostasy. And when it seems like the voice of God is not being manifested. But this is not that time. We have had periods of that from the time of the early church till now. But this is not one of those times now. This is God's end time, harvest time, where God is manifesting himself. Say the word manifest. Manifest. And put this in your spirit. This word harvest right here. Harvest is the time of the greatest manifestation. I don't think you got that. Not when you put the seed in the ground. Not when you plant. Not when you cultivate the ground. Not when it shoots forth and begins to grow or comes through what we call that process, that period of maturing. Not even when the corn or the tomato or whatever it is that you're going to harvest ripens. It's not the planting time. It's not the maturing time. It's not the ripening time. But it's the harvest time that is the time of the greatest manifestation. Because when it's harvest time, you partake of it. You actually receive it. You get it. This is harvest time. Somebody tell me what time it is. Somebody tell me what time it is. It's the time for God to once again deal with his people through signs and wonders and miracles. It is harvest time. God has always dealt with his people through signs and wonders. God destroyed the earth and every living thing in the earth except a man and those that escaped with him in the ark by the name of Noah. And God promised Noah that he would never again destroy the earth through a flood. And to confirm this promise, what did he do? Write him down something on a piece of paper? Gave him a sign. God told Noah, Genesis 9:12 through 13, this is the sign of the covenant. I am expecting God. I am expecting God's supernatural provision for his end time people exactly as manifested himself under the covenant with his people called Israel, but only in a greater, more stupendous, supernatural way of the manifestation of the very glory that God is himself. Oh, glory to God, glory to God. God told Noah, this is the sign of the covenant which I am making between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all successive generations. I will set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a Simeon. It shall be for a sign. It shall establish a covenant between me and the earth. I will never again destroy the world by a flood. Abraham, God manifested himself to him through a Simeon, through a sign. Everybody say sign. And to confirm the promise that God gave to Abraham in Genesis 15, 17 through 18. You know, it's a strange thing, but it's true. God made a promise to Abraham, and then Abraham came to God and he said, what sign or what will you give me that I'll know that this is going to come to pass? What is it that you're going to do so I'll know it? Now, I want us to put this deep into our spirit this morning. This was not the lack of faith on Abraham's part. God tells us to come to him. He tells us to reason with him. It was not a lack of faith in the heart of Abraham that said, by what means shall I know that this is going to come to pass? It wasn't a lack of faith at all. Why? Because this is the way God deals with his people, through signs and wonders and miracles. Genesis 15, 17. Abraham wanted the sign. God gave him a sign. He manifested his presence peculiarly through a flaming torch and a smoking oven. And God passed between the pieces of the sacrifice of this offering. And God walked through the pieces of that offering. He said, Abraham, this is your sign. And God entered into an everlasting blood covenant that bound him and Abraham together forever. God chose to reveal and to confirm his word through a sign. Moses chose to reveal himself to Moses through a sign. Can you see Moses out there in the wilderness? Can you see him on Mount Sinai? You see him out there tendering his father-in-law's sheep. What a sight. All of a sudden, he sees a thorn bush crackling and burning. Exodus 3:3, he said, I'll go over, and he said, I'm going to see this strange sight. Oh, glory to God. I'd given anything to be there, wouldn't you? He said, why the bush doesn't burn? And when he got there, he saw a supernatural manifestation. You say to me, Brother Cerullo, what was it? It was the divine presence of the glory of God, but it was more than that. It was the literal angel of the covenant, Jesus Christ, the pre-incarnated Son of God, who manifested himself to Moses. How did God get Moses' attention? How does God want to deal with us as his children? Through the words of somebody? Oh, that's about all we got, brother. Walk into our lovely churches. Please, when I say these things, I don't mean to be critical. Please don't take them wrong. But how many of you know, if we are going to manifest what God has planned for us, we have got to have something more. Now, if you want to, you can walk into the church of your choice. Go ahead on Sunday morning. Help yourself if you want to. And you can just sit down Sunday after Sunday. Go ahead, help yourself if you want to. And sit like a bump on a log. Help yourself if you want to. The music is wonderful. The choir is wonderful. The preaching is nice. I didn't say it was wonderful. Some of it is. Thank God we've got some great, wonderful preachers. But you can go ahead through these motions if you want to. Help yourself. And then get up after it's all over and shake everybody's hand and say, oh, brother, oh, sister, oh, isn't that wonderful? Wasn't that marvelous? Wasn't that great? Oh, we had such a nice time. I hope you'll come to my house Sunday or maybe next week. We'll have tea together. And then you go through the humdrum routine of a week that, brother, is so boring. Some of you can't wait to die. Sure, that's the only exciting thing you got to look forward to, brother, when you're going to go home to be with Jesus and get rid of this boring life. Got nothing to look forward to except getting up and going through the routine, going to bed, and getting up and going through the routine, going to bed. Come on, don't say amen, say ouch. I believe God's got something more for us than that. Suddenly, out of the bush, Moses hears his name. Moses! Moses! Thank God he had enough presence about him. Exodus 3:4. He said, here I am. I wonder if he knew who he was saying, here I am to. No, he didn't. It wasn't until, now get this, brother. It wasn't until God used the sign to identify himself. Exodus 3:5. God said, don't come any closer. It's far enough. Take the sandals off your feet. The place where you're standing is holy ground. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Stop! Get your shoes off! I am that I am that I am. God will use signs and wonders and manifestations of his supernaturalism to identify himself. Say, God has always dealt with his people through signs and wonders.